floated near the observation window of the research ship, watching stars drift past like diamonds scattered across black silk. She had been studying alien plant samples for 6 hours straight, and her eyes needed a break. The ship, called Horizon's Edge, was small but comfortable. It carried only 4 crew members on this mission to catalog life forms in the outer systems. She pressed her hand against the cool glass and smiled. This was her dream job. At 24 years old, she was the youngest ever assigned to deep space research. Her parents had been so proud when she got the assignment. Her mother cried. Her father just hugged her and said nothing for a long time. "Come look at this." His voice crackled through the comm system. Was the ship's engineer, a woman with quick hands and a quicker mind. "I'm getting weird readings from the port sensors." Pushed off from the window and floated down the corridor to the engineering bay. In zero gravity, movement was like swimming through air. She had gotten good at it over the past 3 months. When she arrived, was frowning at her screen. Captain stood behind her, arms crossed. He was a serious man but fair. He had served in the colony defense forces before retiring to research missions. "What is it?" asked. "Something big just dropped out of faster-than-light travel," said. "Right on top of us. I mean, way too close to be accidental." The ship's medic floated in from the medical bay. He was young-like, but he had steady hands and a calm voice that made everyone feel safe. "Should we be worried?" he asked. Captain's jaw tightened. "Change course, now get us away from." The ship shook, hard, slammed into the wall, and pain shot through her shoulder. Red lights started flashing. The alarm wailed like a dying animal. "We're being pulled in," shouted over the noise. Her fingers flew across the controls, but nothing responded. "Tractor beam, I can't break free." His heart hammered in her chest. She had read about tractor beams. Only military ships had them. Only hostile military ships used them without warning. Through the window, she saw it. A massive ship, dark and angular, covered in strange symbols that hurt to look at. It was at least 10 times bigger than Horizon's Edge. Lights pulsed along its hull in colors that didn't exist in nature. "Unknown vessel, this is captain of the human research ship Horizon's Edge. We are unarmed. Please state your intentions." The captain's voice was steady, professional, but saw his hand shaking. No response. The enemy ship pulled them closer, watched their hull get swallowed by a massive opening in the larger vessel. Darkness surrounded them. Then harsh white lights flooded their ship. "They're boarding us," whispered. Metal screeched. Something was cutting through their outer door, smelled burning metal and plastic. The sound made her teeth hurt. Captain grabbed and hide, now find anywhere. The door exploded inward, not with fire but with a wave of force that threw everyone against the far wall. His head cracked against metal. Her vision went blurry. Through the haze, she saw them enter. They were tall, maybe 8 feet, with bodies like insects but standing upright. Their skin was dark purple and looked hard like armor. Multiple arms ending in claws. Eyes like black marbles, too many of them. They moved wrong, joints bending in directions that made stomach turn. One of them made a sound. Not words, just a high-pitched clicking that echoed inside Skull. Captain stood up, placing himself between the creatures and his crew. "We are peaceful explorers. We mean no." The creature moved fast, too fast. Its claws slashed across the captain's chest. Blood sprayed, fell without a sound. Screamed and rushed forward. Another creature grabbed her with 2 of its arms. There was a wet crack, stopped screaming. Tried to run. He didn't make it 3 steps. Couldn't move. Her body was frozen. Her mind was screaming at her legs to work, but they wouldn't listen. She had never seen death before, never seen violence like this. In training, they talked about first contact protocols, diplomatic procedures, peaceful resolution. They never talked about this. The largest creature approached her. It was even bigger than the others, with extra plates of armor across its chest and strange devices embedded in its skull. It leaned down, bringing its face close to hers. Its breath smelled like rotting meat and chemicals. It made more clicking sounds. A device on its arm glowed, and suddenly she heard words in her mind. Not her language, not any language, just meaning forced directly into her brain. Human, soft, weak, curious. Tried to speak, but no sound came out. The creature grabbed her arm. Its claws punctured her skin easily. She felt warm blood running down to her elbow. The pain snapped her out of her frozen state, and she tried to pull away. It held her. More clicking, more words in her mind. Subject, study, understand limits, understand breaking. Two other creatures grabbed her other arm and her legs. They carried her out of her ship, through the bright white corridor of the alien vessel. She tried to struggle, but they were too strong, like trying to fight steel robots. They brought her to a room. It was circular with a chair in the center. Not a normal chair. One with straps and clamps and too many sharp instruments around it. Medical instruments, maybe, or torture devices. Wasn't sure there was a difference anymore. They strapped her down. Arms, legs, chest, head. She couldn't move at all now, could barely breathe. The large creature stood in front of her. Its black eyes reflected her terrified face back at her. Human emotions, human pain, human limits, we learn, you teach. Thought of her mother, her father, her older brother who died 5 years ago defending a colony from raiders. She thought of his last message to her. We don't break, we adapt. She closed her eyes. The creature made a sound that might have been laughter. Then the pain began, and learned that 37 minutes could feel like forever. The first thing they did was inject something into her neck. Felt it burn through her veins like acid mixed with ice. Her body went rigid, every muscle locking up at once. She couldn't scream, couldn't even breathe properly, but she could feel everything. The creature they called the Harvester watched her with its too many eyes. It tilted its head, studying her reactions like she was an insect pinned to a board. Other creatures moved around the room, adjusting instruments, recording data on floating screens that glowed with alien symbols. Neural response, active, one of them clicked. The translation device in its head still worked, turning their sounds into meaning she could understand. Pain receptors, functioning at full capacity, consciousness, stable. The Harvester made an approving sound. It picked up a thin metal rod from a tray beside the chair. The rod hummed with energy, crackling with small purple lightning. Humans claim intelligence, the Harvester's thoughts pushed into his mind. We test this, we test everything. It pressed the rod against her arm. Lightning shot through her body, not the kind that kills quickly, the kind that makes every nerve sing with agony. His back arched against the restraints. Her teeth clenched so hard she thought they might crack. A sound came from her throat, raw and animal. The Harvester held it there for 10 seconds, then 20, then 30. When it finally pulled away, gasped for air. Tears ran down her face. She hadn't realized she was crying. Interesting, the Harvester clicked. Higher pain tolerance than expected. Continue. Time stopped meaning anything. Tried to count seconds to keep her mind focused, but the pain made numbers scatter like leaves in wind. They used different instruments. Some burned. Some froze. Some did things she couldn't even describe, things that made her body feel like it was being turned inside out at the cellular level. They asked questions, not with words but by forcing thoughts into her head while they hurt her. What are humans afraid of? How do humans fight? What makes humans surrender? Didn't answer, couldn't answer. Her mind was screaming too loud. At some point, maybe 15 minutes in, they brought out a device that looked like a metal crown. They placed it on her head, and it dug small needles into her skull. Not deep enough to kill, but deep enough to reach something important. Memory extraction, one creature announced. Beginning neural scan. His vision went white. Then she was somewhere else, not the torture room. She was 7 years old in her backyard playing with. He was teaching her how to climb the old tree. She fell and scraped her knee, cried. He picked her up and said, "Pain is just your body talking. Listen to it, but don't let it control you." The memory shattered. She was back in the chair. The creatures were watching her brain activity on their screens. Emotional attachment to deceased sibling, the harvester observed. Exploitable weakness, make her relive the death. No, please no. But they did it anyway. They forced her to watch her brother die again. The raider attack on the colony, the explosion, his final message. Over and over they made her watch it on loop inside her own head. Felt something break inside her. Not her body, something deeper. The part of her that believed the universe was fair, that good people survived, that meaning existed. But something else woke up too, something cold and sharp, something that had always been there in humans, buried under civilization and kindness, the part that survived ice ages, the part that hunted mammoths to extinction, the part that looked at impossible odds and said, "Not today." Rage. Pure crystalline rage. The harvester noticed her expression change. Curious. Subject showing increased aggression despite physical trauma. Unexpected response. Most species show submission by this point. They increased the intensity. More pain. More drugs pumped into her system. They cut her skin in precise lines to study healing rates. They broke bones to test structural integrity. They were thorough. They were scientific. They were completely sure of their safety. At minute 29, something strange happened. The crown on its head started sparking. The translation device implanted in her brain, standard equipment for all humans traveling in space, was overloading from the neural assault. Too much electrical activity. Too much foreign interference. The creatures didn't notice at first. They were focused on their instruments, recording data. Felt it building, heat in her skull, pressure behind her eyes. Her implant was frying, but before it died completely, it released all its stored energy at once. An electromagnetic pulse. Small, localized, but strong enough. The straps holding her down were electronic. They clicked open. The lock on the door disengaged with a soft beep. The lights flickered. The torture instruments powered down. The creatures froze. They looked at each other, confused. This wasn't part of their protocol. His arms fell free. She slumped forward, barely conscious. Every part of her body was screaming. Medical science said she should be dead. Her heart rate was dangerously high. She had lost too much blood. Her neural activity was spiking into dangerous territory. But her eyes opened. The harvester turned to look at her. For the first time, she saw something that might have been surprise in those black eyes. His body was running on something beyond normal biology now. Adrenaline, yes, but also endorphins flooding her system to manage the pain. Noradrenaline sharpening her mind despite the trauma. Cortisol pushing her past every natural limit. Her body was eating itself to stay functional, burning through resources that would take weeks to replace. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. They chased prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. They survived by refusing to stop when any sane creature would give up. His hand reached out, shaking, and grabbed the metal rod the harvester had used on her. It was still active, still crackling with energy. The harvester made a clicking sound. Alarm, maybe. It reached for her. Was faster. Pain made her slow, but rage made her precise. She jammed the rod into the harvester's thorax, right between the armor plates. The creature shrieked, a sound like tearing metal. Purple blood sprayed across her face. The other two creatures rushed toward her, rolled off the chair, her legs barely holding her weight. She stumbled toward the door. Behind her, the harvester was trying to pull the rod out, but the electricity was cooking it from the inside. Fell through the doorway into the corridor. The white lights were too bright. Her vision was blurry with blood and tears, but she was free. 37 minutes in that room, 37 minutes of hell. And she was still standing. The alarm started wailing throughout the ship. The creatures knew now. Their subject had escaped, but wasn't trying to escape anymore. She was hunting, leaned against the cold wall of the corridor, breathing hard. Every breath felt like knives in her lungs. Her vision kept going dark at the edges, then clearing again. Her body was deciding whether to shut down or keep fighting. She chose fighting. The alarm was loud, echoing through the ship. She heard clicking sounds in the distance. The creatures were coming for her. They expected her to hide, to run, to find an escape pod. They didn't understand humans at all. During the torture, while they thought she was broken and helpless, she had been watching. The screens around the room showed ship schematics, navigation data, security protocols. The creatures were so confident in their superiority that they never thought to hide information from their victim. Humans were good at patterns, good at remembering. Evolution made them that way. Ancient humans tracked animals across vast distances by remembering landmarks, reading signs, noticing small details. His brain had recorded everything even through the pain. She knew where the armory was. She knew where the crew quarters were. Most importantly, she knew where the other torture chambers were. Because there were others, the screens had shown 17 humans, alive, suffering, waiting. But first, she needed a real weapon. Pushed off the wall and started moving. Her legs shook with every step. Blood dripped from her wounds, leaving a trail behind her. That was okay. Let them follow. She wasn't hiding. She turned left at the intersection, then right, then straight. The ship's layout was clear in her mind like a map. Two creatures rounded the corner ahead of her. They froze when they saw her, surprise clear in their body language. They expected a broken, dying human. They got something else entirely. Picked up a piece of broken pipe from a damaged wall panel. It was heavy. She could barely lift it, but she swung it anyway, putting everything she had into the motion. The first creature tried to dodge, too slow. The pipe connected with its head with a wet crunch. It collapsed. The second creature made a high-pitched clicking sound, backing away. It wasn't calling for help. It was expressing fear. Good, now it understood. Hit it too, again, and again, even after it stopped moving, because rage had momentum and stopping required energy she didn't want to waste on control. She took a weapon from one of the fallen creatures. It looked like a gun, but organic, with tubes filled with glowing liquid. She pressed what looked like a trigger. A beam of concentrated energy shot out, melting a hole in the far wall. Good enough. The armory was 3 corridors away. She stumbled forward, using the walls for support. More creatures appeared. She shot them. Some died instantly. Some didn't. She didn't stop to check, just kept moving. Her translation implant was dead, but she didn't need it anymore. She could read the creature's body language, fear, confusion. They had never dealt with prey that fought back. In their experience, victims either died or broke. They didn't adapt. They didn't get angrier. Reached the armory. The door was locked. She shot it until the mechanism melted. The door slid open. Inside, racks of weapons lined the walls. Some she recognized from human military designs they must have stolen. Some were alien technology she didn't understand. She grabbed everything she could carry. Guns, blades, explosives that felt unstable in her hands. A group of 6 creatures found her there. They tried to surround her, working together like a hunting pack. Threw one of the unstable explosives. It detonated midair, filling the corridor with fire and shrapnel. The creatures scattered. She shot the ones that didn't scatter fast enough. One survived. It tried to run, followed it, slow, steady, relentless. The creature kept looking back, seeing her still coming, still raising the gun, still refusing to stop. Humans were pursuit predators. They didn't need to be faster than their prey. They just needed to never give up. The creature ran until it couldn't run anymore, then caught up. She searched the ship methodically, level by level, room by room, looking for the ones who hurt her, looking for the ones who watched, looking for the ones who recorded data while she screamed. She found them in a command center, 4 of them, watching screens that showed various torture chambers throughout the ship. They were reviewing footage, taking notes, analyzing suffering with scientific detachment. They looked up when she entered. One reached for a weapon, shot its arm off before it could grab anything. She didn't kill them quickly. They didn't deserve quick. They needed to understand, needed to feel what their subjects felt, needed to know what happened when you pushed humans beyond breaking and they came back. Afterward stood in the command center, breathing hard. The screens around her showed the other chambers. The 17 humans. Some were in pain, some were unconscious. All of them were alone. Not anymore. She accessed the ship systems. The interface was alien, but computers followed logic, and logic was universal. She found the cell controls, opened every door, unlocked every restraint. Then she triggered the emergency announcement system. Her voice, hoarse and damaged, echoed through the entire ship. "Humans, you're free. Get to the escape pods. The ship is going to die, but we're not. Move now." The creatures throughout the ship heard it too. They understood that everything had changed. Their prey had become the hunter. Their experiment had failed catastrophically. Watch the screens as humans stumbled out of their cells. Some could barely walk. Some helped the others. They moved together, instinct driving them toward survival. She set a waypoint on their maps, guiding them to the escape pod bay. Then she locked every bulkhead door between them and any remaining creatures. The humans would be safe. Now she just had one more thing to do. She made her way to the bridge. The walk took 20 minutes. Her body was failing now. The adrenaline was fading. The endorphins were wearing off. Reality was catching up with her, and reality said she should have died an hour ago. But she wasn't done yet. The bridge was empty except for one creature, the harvester. It had survived somehow, though half its body was burned and broken. It stood at the command console, trying to regain control of the ship. It turned when she entered, made a clicking sound that her broken implant couldn't translate, but she understood anyway. Surprise, fear, respect. "Human," it said, in broken English it must have learned from studying them. "Impossible, you should be broken." Raised her gun, her hands shook. "We don't break, we adapt." She pulled the trigger. The harvester fell, and finally let herself fall too. Woke up on the floor of the bridge. She didn't remember falling. Time had jumped forward somehow. Minutes or hours, she couldn't tell. Her body was cold. That was bad. Cold meant shock, meant blood loss, meant dying. She forced herself to sit up. Every movement was agony. The harvester's body lay nearby, purple blood pooled around it. The bridge was quiet except for the hum of the ship's systems and the distant sound of the alarm. She checked the screens. The humans had reached the escape pods. Good. They were launching, one by one, moving away from the ship. Safe. But couldn't reach the pods now. She was too far away, too weak. She wouldn't make it in time. That was okay. She had made peace with dying the moment they strapped her to that chair. Everything after that was borrowed time. But she could still do something important. She crawled to the command console. Her fingers left bloody prints on the controls. The interface was complex, but she had watched the harvester use it. Pattern recognition, human specialty. She accessed the communication array. It was powerful, designed for long-range coordination of their fleet. She could reach far with this, could reach other ships, other stations, maybe even human space. First, she needed evidence. The creatures had recorded everything, all their experiments, all their torture sessions, all their data on the 17 humans and countless other species they had studied over the years. Downloaded it all, compiled it into one massive file, added her own message at the beginning. Her hands shook as she typed on the alien keyboard, but the ship's translation software helped her convert her thoughts into something the system could understand. "My name is, I am human. This is what they did to us." Then she attached everything: the footage of her torture, the data on the other humans, the locations of other ships and facilities, everything their database contained about their entire operation. She set it to broadcast on all frequencies, not just human channels. Every channel, every species in range would receive this. Let them all see. Let them all know what the collective really was. Her finger hovered over the send button. Once she did this, there was no taking it back. The galaxy would see humanity at its most vulnerable, broken, bleeding, tortured. But they would also see what happened next. They would see that humans got back up. She pressed send. The message launched into space, traveling at light speed toward thousands of receivers, military stations, civilian outposts, trading hubs, diplomatic centers. In hours, everyone would know. Pulled up the navigation console. The nearest human presence was a military vessel, the Retribution, on patrol 3 days away at normal speeds. She programmed the ship to autopilot toward it. Slow, steady. The ship would reach human space eventually. Then she found the self-destruct system. They had one, of course. All warships did. A final option if capture seemed certain. She set it on a timer. 3 hours. That would give the escape pods time to get far away, time for the ship to get closer to the Retribution, but not enough time for any reinforcements to arrive. The console beeped, confirming the countdown. 3 hours until the ship would tear itself apart, until all evidence of what happened here would scatter across space. Except for the message, that would live forever. Leaned back against the console. Her vision was getting blurry again. She felt cold, so cold. She looked at her hands. They were pale. She had lost too much blood. A screen flickered to life. Incoming transmission. The Retribution had received her message. Admiral's face appeared. A woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and gray hair pulled back tight. This is Admiral of the human vessel Retribution. We have received your broadcast and are moving to intercept at maximum speed. If you can hear this, stay alive. Help is coming. Do not give up. That is an order. Laughed, it hurt, everything hurt. Yes, ma'am, she whispered, even though the Admiral couldn't hear her. More transmissions came in. Other human ships changing course. Medical vessels being dispatched. The entire human fleet within range was mobilizing. Then alien transmissions, species she had never heard of expressing shock, horror, anger at the 3 civilizations immediately declared the collective to be hostile and cut all diplomatic ties. The message was working. The galaxy was watching. Closed her eyes, just for a moment, just to rest. She dreamed of. They were kids again, climbing that tree in the backyard. He was showing her how to reach the highest branch. I'm scared, Dream said. It's too high. You've climbed higher than this, told her. You just don't remember yet. She woke up to proximity alarms. The Retribution had arrived. Impossible. 3 days of travel in just 2 hours. They must have pushed their engines beyond safety limits. The screen showed the military ship approaching fast. It was huge, bristling with weapons. Behind it, 3 more ships, a medical frigate, 2 escort destroyers. Humanity had come for her. This is Retribution. We're coming aboard. Medical teams are ready. Hold on. She tried to answer but couldn't. Her voice was gone. Her body had given everything it had. The bridge door exploded inward. Human soldiers poured through, weapons ready, checking for threats. They wore full combat armor with Earth's flag on their shoulders. The most beautiful thing had ever seen. A woman pushed through the soldiers, Admiral herself. She knelt beside, her tough expression cracking when she saw the extent of the injuries. Get medical up here now, the Admiral shouted. Then quieter too, you did good, soldier, you did so good. Not a soldier managed to whisper, just a scientist. Today you were both, said. The medical team arrived with a stretcher and emergency equipment. They worked fast, professional, pumping full of blood replacement and stabilizers. The pain started to fade as drugs took effect. The self-destruct said, "I said it, 1 hour left." "We know," the Admiral said. "We're evacuating everyone. You're coming with us." They lifted onto the stretcher. As they carried her out, she saw the harvester's body being examined by human scientists. They would learn from it, study it, understand how to fight these creatures better. The humans were always learning, always adapting. Just before they put her into medical stasis for the trip back, heard the Admiral talking to her officers. "Send this message to every facility in the database. Tell them what happened here. Tell them if they don't release every captive immediately, this will look like mercy compared to what comes next." "Yes, ma'am. Should we prepare for war?" The Admiral looked at, "We've been at war. We just didn't know it yet. Now they'll learn what happens when you make humans angry." Smiled and let the darkness take her. This time, it was the gentle darkness of medicine and safety. She had done enough. Now it was humanity's turn. Woke up in a hospital bed 3 days later. The room was white and clean and smelled like antiseptic. Soft music played somewhere. Through the window she could see Earth, home. She tried to sit up, but her body wouldn't cooperate. Everything felt heavy and distant, wrapped in layers of medication. A nurse noticed she was awake. Young man, maybe 25, with kind eyes. "Welcome back," he said. "Don't try to move yet. Your body needs time to heal." The others said, her voice was rough. "The 17 humans. Safe, all of them. They're being treated here in the same facility." The nurse checked her vitals on a screen. Admiral made sure of it. Nobody gets left behind. Closed her eyes. Relief washed over her. They made it. Everyone made it. Over the next weeks, learned what her message had caused. The galaxy had exploded with reaction. The footage of her torture, broadcasted across every channel, had shocked even species known for their brutality. 3 alien civilizations immediately declared war on the collective. 2 more cut all trade and communication. They suddenly found themselves isolated, surrounded by hostile neighbors who saw them as a threat. The human response was swift and overwhelming. Within 6 days, human military forces hit every facility in the database. They weren't there to negotiate. They were there to rescue. All captives were freed. Not just humans. Dozens of other species, some held for years. They tried to fight back, but they had made a critical error. They thought humans were weak because they felt pain. They didn't understand that pain just made humans angrier. In 4 weeks, the collective sued for peace. They released all remaining captives. They opened their borders to inspections. They agreed to pay reparations. Their entire society was restructured under galactic oversight. All because one human refused to stay broken. Its recovery was slow. The physical injuries healed faster than expected. Human bodies were resilient, but the mental injuries were harder. She had nightmares. Every night she was back in that chair. Sometimes she woke up screaming. Sometimes she woke up silent, tears running down her face. The doctors called it PTSD, gave her medication, therapy, support groups with other survivors. It helped slowly. 2 months after the incident, came to visit her. She was one of the 17, a young engineer who had been captured 6 months before. She walked with a cane now, but she was smiling. "I wanted to thank you," said, sitting beside's bed. "When we were in those cells, we kept hoping someone would come. We didn't know it would be like this. Didn't know someone would come back for us." "I didn't come back for you," said quietly. "I didn't even know you existed until after I escaped. I was just angry." "You were angry on our behalf," corrected. "That's close enough." They talked for hours, about the torture, about the fear, about the dreams that wouldn't stop. It helped to talk to someone who understood, someone who had been there. The other survivors visited too, one by one. They formed a bond, something deeper than friendship. They were the ones who knew, who really knew. 3 months after the incident, Admiral offered a position. "We're forming a new division, the Admiral explained. "The Galactic Relations and Defense Initiative. We need people who understand what's out there, people who won't break when things get hard." "I'm not a soldier," said. "No, you're a survivor, that's better." Accepted, not because she wanted to fight, but because she wanted to make sure no one else ended up in that chair. She became the face of the initiative, speaking at conferences, meeting with alien ambassadors, training new recruits. She told her story over and over. Each time it got a little easier. Each time the nightmares got a little quieter. The galaxy listened. Species that had never cared about humans suddenly paid attention, some out of fear, some out of respect, some out of curiosity about these strange creatures who refused to quit. The story spread. Humans told it in bars. Aliens told it in their councils. The details changed with each telling, growing into legend, but the core remained the same. A human girl was tortured. 37 minutes later, she came back. 6 months after the incident, returned to Earth for the first time since childhood. She needed to see something, someone. She traveled to the memorial wall in New Seoul. It stretched for miles, covered in names. Soldiers who died defending colonies. Civilians who died in attacks. Heroes who gave everything for humanity's survival. She found his name. Her brother, his name carved in stone alongside thousands of others. Placed her hand on the cold stone. People walked past, some stopping to read names, some crying, some just standing in silence. "I understand now," she said quietly. "What you meant about not breaking, about adapting." A breeze picked up, warm and gentle. Above the sky was clear blue, Earth's sky, home's sky. "They tried to break me," she continued. "They almost did, but then I remembered you, remembered what you said, and I got back up." She pulled out a small medal from her pocket, the Galactic Service Cross. They had given it to her last week in a ceremony attended by representatives from 20 different species, the highest honor humanity could give. She placed it at the base of the wall beneath her brother's name. "This is yours too," she said. "You taught me how to survive." Someone approached. Admiral, she stood beside, looking at the wall of names. "Your brother would be proud," the Admiral said. "I hope so. The galaxy is different now because of what you did. 3 species are free from torture. Dozens of individuals are home with their families. New treaties are being written. New alliances are forming, all because you refused to quit." "I was just trying to survive." "That's what humans do best," Admiral smiled. "The other species are starting to understand that now. They're learning what humanity really means." Looked at the sky. Somewhere up there beyond the blue, the galaxy continued turning. Species rose and fell. Empires expanded and collapsed. Wars started and ended. And humans kept surviving, kept adapting, kept refusing to break. They had tried to understand humanity through torture. They had failed completely. You couldn't understand humans by studying their pain. You had to understand their response to pain, the way they got back up, the way they turned suffering into strength, the way they looked at impossible odds and chose to fight anyway. Had become a symbol of that, not because she wanted to be, but because someone had to show the galaxy what humans really were. They weren't the strongest species, they weren't the most advanced. But they were the ones who didn't know how to quit. Later that evening, gave a speech at the Human Defense Coalition headquarters. Hundreds attended. Humans, aliens, military personnel, civilians, survivors. She stood at the podium looking out at all those faces. Some she knew, most she didn't, but they all knew her story. "People call me brave," she said. "They call me a hero. They call me the 37-minute warrior." She paused. "I'm not any of those things. I'm just someone who was hurt and got angry about it. I'm someone who decided that dying was okay, but dying without fighting back wasn't." Every human has this in them, this refusal to accept defeat. It's in our DNA, written in our history. Our species climbed out of caves and reached the stars. We survived diseases, wars, disasters. We kept going when any reasonable species would have stopped. The galaxy is watching us now. Some are afraid, some are impressed, some are confused. They want to understand what makes humans different. She smiled. It's simple, we don't break, we adapt, and when you push us too far, we come back. The room erupted in applause. Not just humans, aliens too. They understood now. Understood that humanity was dangerous not because of weapons or technology, but because of sheer stubborn will. After the speech found her in the crowd. That was good, she said, really good. Thanks. What are you doing tomorrow? Why? A few of us survivors are meeting up. Dinner, talking, being normal for a while, you should come. Thought about it. A few months ago she would have said no, would have isolated herself, let the trauma control her. But she was adapting, getting better, learning to live with what happened. Yeah, she said, I'll be there. They walked out of the headquarters together into the warm evening air. Above them, stars began appearing in the darkening sky. Thousands of them, millions. Each one a potential home to species who now knew the truth about humanity. They had tried to break one human girl, just one. And she came back. That was all the galaxy needed to know.